In this video, we're going to talk about how we evaluate piecewise functions from a graph. So we've got a piecewise function here. Remember that piecewise function means we've got more than one function that if they continued forever, they would be two completely separate functions, but we have certain conditions with the domain of our function, and so they can jump from one function to the next. So, for example, you can kind of see a parabola here, and this parabola only holds true in this function when x is less than -2. Remember, the open circle means that that is not included in our graph. So at x equals -2, there is no function there from our parabola. It goes up to, but does not include -2. And then this filled in circle up top here, that gives us a value at -2 along this function. So our graph follows here, and then it jumps at -2 up here and continues on that function. So we're going to evaluate a few individual pieces here and then a larger expression. So f of -2, we see that at x equals -2, well, again, it's an open circle here, so we don't use this point here. We jump up here, and that's a y value of 3. So f of -2 equals 3. F of 2, so x is equal to 2. We go here. That's on our x-axis. So f of 2 equals 0. F of -4, go to x equals -4. That's our parabola here, and that's a y value of 1. Okay. So that's how we evaluate just a singular point. If we've got a larger expression here, we want to first figure out what are the values for each of these functions. And then we substitute those in, and then we can evaluate the expression. So I'm basically just going to rewrite this and substitute in the values from our graph. So f of -2. Again, x is -2. That's where we have to jump up to this piece. So we have 3. And then at times f of -3. Well, if x is -3, that's the vertex of our parabola, so that's a y value of 0. And then plus square root. I can't type that, so I'll just type square root. F of 0. If x is 0, this is another part where we've got an open circle here, so we have to jump up, and we're using this value, so the y value is 4 for f of 0 here. So square root of 4 minus f of -1, or excuse me, f of 1. So x is 1, we get a y value of 2, and that is multiplied by f of -5. So at -5, we have a y value here of 4. Okay, so we just found the values for each of these points of our graph, and now we just have to remember order of operations. So 3 times 0 is just 0. I don't really need to type that. Square root of 4 is 2. Minus 2 times 4 is 8. So notice I did everything in parentheses here. The square root is by itself, and the product here, because I want to do add and subtract last, I end up with just 2 minus 8. So we get -6.